Hi, I'm Daniel Foley from the Abundant Life Training Center, and welcome to this week's yearly cycle updates. We are in January, the middle of January, year 2021, and this time in January is a time of the year where it may feel like time is accelerating. Time is going by at a quicker pace. And this is a reminder for us that something we teach inside of our program, the Abundant Life Blueprint, that time is relative. It's not fixed. Time can feel like it's going by very quickly, or time can feel like it's going by very slowly. God has given us this ability to both speed up and to slow down time at the same time. And I believe the best results come when we learn how to squeeze time and to slow it down, but at the same time accelerate our productivity and results so we get a compounded effect. Now, you've probably all had times where you felt like time was moving really slowly. The day was just creeping by, or you've had times where things were going by really quickly. And this time in the year is a time where time seems to be accelerating. We're looking down, it's already the 21st of January. The month is flying by, as many of you have told me. And in the fall, we talk about there's a time in the year in September, October, where it feels like time is moving really slowly. This is the time where time accelerates. Now, this is a reminder for us that we can accelerate results. Sometimes we might find ourselves praying and believing something and looking for results in certain areas of our lives, but it seems like it's taking forever. And you might say, God, why is this taking so long? What's the holdup? What's taking so long? This should have been done a long time ago. What's the holdup? Let's talk about if you find yourself in a place where things are taking longer than they should, things are taking longer than expected. How do we accelerate those results? Number one, but first, before we get into that, let's keep in mind, sometimes delays are good. Sometimes God delays things because there's a perfect timing for things to unfold beautifully. As a practical example, I learned about this. I was in my personal training gym business, and I was getting this nudge from God that it was time to do some remodeling. We knocked out some walls and created some more workout space. And we ended up purchasing some new equipment to put into that new space. But as we got all the walls knocked down, the crew came in, they knocked down the walls. It was done within a couple of days. It was all the demo was done in just a few days. But then it sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there for months and months and months, and I could not get anybody to come work on it. I was making phone calls, doing everything that I knew to do to get people to come work on this thing and finish the job. And it took significantly longer than I expected it to take, than anybody expected it to take. And my employees, my trainers, my clients are all asking, when are they going to come work on this? When are they going to come work on this? When are they going to come work on this? And I said, you know what? I've done all I can do. And the only thing I knew inside of me was that I had peace about it. I had peace about it because I knew God had prompted the project. I knew he had prompted the project, and there was going to be a perfect timing to this. Now, it turned out that our cash flow in the middle of those months of the holdup, our cash flow got a little bit tight, and we were able to actually spread out the payments because we didn't have to make the final payments on the new equipment we were purchasing until it actually arrived, and we were holding off on getting it shipped to us until the space was finished, so we had somewhere to put it. And so we ended up being able to space out the payments on the equipment, which ended up being a tremendous blessing. And so what I learned in that is that sometimes God knows how to stretch us and put us into this position where we're developing trust. We're learning to trust God in these times where we wait, that he's going to come through at the perfect time, and that maybe even though we don't understand why there's these delays, there's these holdups, that there's a reason for it. He's got a perfect timing. And we can say, you know what, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get this thing done, but I trust you that your timing is going to unfold beautifully. And God knows how to stretch it in just a way where nothing tears, nothing breaks, and he comes through at the perfect time. But with that being said, there are some things that I believe we can do. Sometimes the answer is to accelerate things with some of the keys that we're going to talk about next. Now, I want you to think about, if we want to talk about accelerating time, the first thing we need to understand, if we want to accelerate how quickly something gets done, is that Albert Einstein proved There's something we teach inside of the Abundant Life Blueprint when we talk about order and time. That positioning, so the key to creating order in our lives is positioning. How things are positioned is the key to creating order. A change in position, anytime you change the location of where something is positioned or how it's positioned, which way it's facing, these types of things, anytime you change position, space and time, Albert Einstein has proved, space and time are one. Anytime you change position in space, you change the way that time is experienced. And so what I've learned is the first step, the first thing you need to do is work on positioning, create more order in your life. We could go through, we talk about in the order blueprint, we talk about number one, putting boundaries around our life is one of the first steps to creating order. How do we do that? Put a boundary around your priorities. So are our priorities in order? One of the first keys to positioning, our priorities. So Jesus says what? Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and then all these things will be added to you. Is our priority in order of seeking first the kingdom? And then are we in, if we're going to create proper positioning, we got to be in the right place at the right time. We got to be aligned with what God's wanting us to do. Are we each day doing what God's wanting us to do? If we're doing those things, I think those are the first keys to creating positioning. And then the final key to positioning, I believe, is this, is learning to take our hands off it. Taking the position of what? Humility. Jesus says, if you'll humble yourself, you'll be exalted. Taking the position of humbling ourselves and giving it to God and say, God, I need your help. I need your help on this, and I trust your timing and your goodness to unfold this and have it unfold at the perfect time. We can position ourselves in humility. If we're talking to others who are helping on things that are taking so long, we can position ourselves in humility rather than a stance of pride. So taking a more humble approach is one of the keys to positioning ourselves properly. And then we get into, we talk about the 4 P's. So we have positioning first. That would be our 5th P. Positioning first. And then we have the 4 P's of praying, praising, playing, and people. Those are our 4 biggest accelerators of things. So number 1, what are we going to do? We're going to pray. Rather than trying to confront all the people that are maybe slowing down this thing or whatever is going on that's making it take so long, rather than confronting them, we're going to take it to God and ask for his help on this. And what do? We're going to give it to him. We're going to give it to him. And then we're going to take our hands off of it. And we're going to move into the next P's. We're going to pray. We're going to pray first. And then we're going to start praising God and thanking God regularly, worshiping him that he's working on it. We're going to start praising and we're going to start playing. What are you going to do? Go have fun. Stop worrying about it. Take your hand off of it. At a certain point, you do what you know to do. You reach out to the person, whoever it is that you need to talk to or whatever it may be, or the step that you need to take. You do what you know to do, but too often we over-intervene. Because of what? A lack of trust. We over-intervene and we get into self-effort rather than resting and trusting that we gave it to God. He's going to work on it, and we try to effort our way through it. Think about Abraham and Sarah. They were not resting and trusting. They tried to take it into their own hands and had Ishmael rather than waiting for the perfect timing for God to bring Isaac. And it created problems while they were waiting. And so we're going to give it to God. We're going to pray. And then I'm going to take my hands off of it. I'm going to do what I know I can do. I'm going to stay positioned correctly in humility and trust. I'm going to take my hands off it and say, God, you can handle this better than I can. You know the perfect timing for this. You know how to have it unfold perfectly. I'm going to do what I know to do with a good attitude. I'm going to show up and do what I know to do with a good attitude and with joy. And a lot of this is just how are we positioning ourselves? Are we positioning ourselves in a state of frustration and stress and bitterness and discouragement and anger? Are we positioning ourselves? I'm going to go about my day and I'm going to have peace. I'm going to have joy. I'm going to take a humble approach. I'm going to take a gentle approach rather than trying to force everything to happen. Some of the reason why we have to wait is because we keep trying to self-efforting our way into things. I don't even know if that's a word. Self-efforting. We keep trying to put the effort in to make it happen when God wants us to function from a place of rest and trust. I think it's in Galatians. It says, who has bewitched you, Galatians? Now you're trying to, you received everything from God by grace, and now you're trying to obtain your goal by what? By effort. Now you're trying to obtain your goal by effort. We got to learn how to rest and trust, take our hands off of it, and let God work on it. And then our final key is people. When you can find people that you trust. Sometimes it's just finding the right person who has the authority to make the decision. The right person who has the authority. Sometimes the question is, not how am I going to get this thing done, but who? Who can help me with this? First step would be God, and then he may prompt you maybe to get in touch with this person, reach out to this person, do this, whatever it may be. But people are one of the biggest accelerators of results. Think about this. In 2 Peter, I believe it says that we can speed the coming of Jesus by living holy lives. Well, if we can speed him up by living holy, we can also slow him down by not living the right way. So people are either the greatest accelerator for you that will help things get done faster, or they'll be the biggest thing to slow things down. We can find people that we can trust. Sometimes it's just finding the right person. God being the first one, and then who can we reach out to beyond that? But those 5 P's, positioning, praying, turning it over to him, taking our hands off of it, and then we move into praying, praising, playing, and then people. People are the biggest accelerator of this. But we tend to over-intervene a lot of times. We try to take things back into our hands and do it all in our own strength rather than resting and trusting in God and him guiding you through the process. But I hope this has been helpful for you. I look forward to seeing you guys next week on our yearly cycle updates. If you want to learn more about the Abundant Life Blueprint, you can go to the AbundantLifeTrainingCenter.com.